So, welcome everybody to our second planning meeting of our Talking is Teaching campaign development. So we welcome you here today. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'll share my screen with you so that we can get started here. I'm going to go back up. You're not quite there yet, but Rebecca, there we go. So we will have our agenda today. You can kind of see where we land. We are going to be spending a lot more time in breakout groups today, defining and reaching our audience, and we're focusing a lot on logistics and implementation today. So those discussions will be the core of our time together. And now I'm going to turn the welcome over to Bailey.
Well, welcome everyone. My name is Bailey. I'm from the United Way. So if you want to make sure that just a little etiquette, I guess you would say, for a Zoom meeting, please mute when we're talking. It also helps sometimes if for the recording, it can record whoever's speaking and not if someone's coughing. Use the chat box. We'll also be using the chat box as a feature when we're doing our breakout groups. And when we get in the breakout groups, if you want to rename your, just either put what group number you are. So if you go up to your own picture, there'll be a ... and then you can hit rename when you're in the breakout group. And so that way, when you're sharing information, if you've changed your name to be one Bailey instead of just Bailey, then we know, okay, they were in group one, and it makes it a little bit easier to compile our information at the end. And I think that's it for this slide.
Yep, I'm gonna get us there. We go.
And our inclusion today is just if you want to say your name, your agency, and a favorite book from your childhood. I will go my favorite book. There's a little picture you can't really see, The Trumpet of the Swan. It was one of the only books that I reread more than one time when I was a kid. It really just, it meant a lot to me when I was growing up, especially about all the steps that the swan had to make in his life. And anyways, so I'll have my own group members go first. If Rebecca, you want to go first.
Oh, unmute yourself if you could, Rebecca. It's okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rebecca Clinton. I'm a parent representative on the steering committee. There I am with my son, Henrik, holding the Very Hungry Caterpillar, which my mom told me we read hundreds of times. My son doesn't love it yet, but I'm trying to introduce the love for it. Missy?
Thanks. Where the Wild Things Are is something I just remember those illustrations so vividly, and just the possibilities of going somewhere else without leaving your bedroom. It's kind of a nice option.
Excellent. Mary?
So my favorite book when I was a child was this little golden book called The Tallest Christmas Tree, and it was about this little tiny Christmas tree that was tied to the mast of a very tall ship. And I'm sure it's out of print. I keep, an eye out to see if I ever see it again, because I just have very fond memories of that book. The books that I had the most fun reading to my children were the Hank the Cowdogs books.
Excellent. And now I will call on people in the audience. This will be fun. Camera.
My name is Camera. I am a parent's voice with GSRP. My favorite book, probably, don't laugh, it's probably any of the Harry Potter books, because me and my brother were crazy nerds when I was younger, and we would read them all the time to each other.
Next, if Mary Kay would like to go.
When I asked this question, I continue to change the title of the book, I think, because just recent things. Just recently, my husband and I have started to read a very large volume of Winnie the Pooh to our grandchildren. And rereading it now as an adult it's just so enjoyable. And the first edition that I had, it was back in my childhood, I think it was printed who knows when, but it was all black and white, lots and lots of words. So the imagery and then listening to our grandchildren talk about it is just so enjoyable. And then it was just stepping back in the imagination of that 100-acre wood and how Christopher Robin comes saving, and how those different characters, there's Eeyore, who always has a cloud over his head, but then there's Tigger, who's always bouncing around. And as a former teacher, I just kind of think, oh my gosh, I can just see these kids, and the writer was just so imaginative. And I am with Born to Read. It's our signature project, and I think you all know about Born to Read, and I'm the chairperson for Born to Read this year.
Excellent. Yeah, that was some of the first poetry I memorized was from Winnie the Pooh. Jim.
Let's see, I think I opened my first book when I got to high school. I'll have to think about that. But it still is The Little Engine That Could. And I don't know whether I can really remember it from reading it from the beginning, but it's been in my head ever since the beginning. And I don't think it would hurt to read it again every now and then. My job is to be part of the Read to Me collaborative that includes a collection of reading organizations that are all focused on getting parents to read to their kids. So that's about it.
Excellent. Thank you. Elise?
I think my favorite book series when I was growing up was the Paddington the Bear series. I loved reading about the adventures that he had and also appreciated the gentle humor that was in those stories. So I think that was my favorite.
Thanks. Jennifer?
My favorite was probably James and the Giant Peach. I remember reading that one over and over again. It was one of my favorite escapes, and I just really like the story. It's kind of creepy too. But I am a dental outreach coordinator for Northwest Michigan Health Services. So I go into the schools and do dental services and a lot of different outreach things in the community. So I think it's a good avenue. I'm always encouraging the kids to read and brush their teeth 2 by 2 by 20. It's kind of the Delta Dental platform there. So we kind of encourage that. So I love partnering with anything to do with helping kids to read by 4th grade.
Excellent. Andy?
I'm Andy Shook. I'm the youth coordinator here at the Traverse Area District Library. And I've read so many picture books recently that are present day. So I'm going to go for an early reader for my youth that I remember really well. It was a biography of the baseball player Roberto Clemente. Some great black and white photos and talked about his activism as well. So I really enjoyed that, and for whatever reason, it still sticks with me to today.
Excellent. Cara?
Hi, my favorite book from when I was a child is A Flower Pot Is Not a Hat. It's out of print now, but it should go back into print. It was fabulous because it was a book about all kinds of things. A flower pot is not a hat, but if you put it on your head, it is. And it gave, I guess, my sisters and I a lot of fun thinking of all the possibilities of things that we could put on our heads. So hi, I'm Cara. I run Power Book Bags. That's all.
Thanks, Cara. Betsy?
Hi, I'm a volunteer with Power Book Bags and the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, and I think this is a fascinating initiative. My favorite book when I was a child, it was called The Secret Garden, which is an English book. I don't know if any of you read it, but it was a wonderful book about a relationship between a boy and a girl who discovered this garden and it becomes beautiful over time. So.
And then we also have Debbie.
Sorry, I'm having major computer problems today. I have a brand new computer and I don't know how to work it yet. Everything isn't set up the same, but I'm Debbie Aldridge. I'm coordinator with the Healthy Futures program through Munson Healthcare, the Universal Home Visiting Program, and I'm also a nurse with the Ben Ziegel Mental Health Department. And I have to apologize already. I'm going to end up having to jump off here just after 3 for another COVID response thing that just came up. But I will say I don't remember a favorite book when I was a kid, but I did read to my girls the Harry Potter series when it came out and before the movies came out, and we read all of them all the way through out loud. And I would never forget when the movies did come out, they pronounced the names wrong because it wasn't how I pronounced Hermione. I pronounced it differently. And so we all laughed about how they're saying it wrong. Like it just is so different in your head, how you hear it and how you read it out loud. And then when somebody else says it differently. So.
Absolutely. I agree with you about that. I've been reading them to my boys too, but we had to stop after the 4th one because they get a little scary for an 8-year-old. I think that's it for inclusion.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to take us back to our show here, and we're going to go ahead and move along into our purpose. 2 purposes for today. Hang on a second. I've got to slide some things around. We're looking to prepare the groundwork for planning and executing our regional Talking is Teaching campaign, and as engaging diverse partners and representing our 5-county region in planning and executing. So we've got, this is just keeping the big picture in mind here. Oops, our outcomes for today, real quickly, if you could read them quietly to yourself and in the chat box, enter the one that interests you the most today. All right. And we're going to move our slides along here. So go ahead and enter that outcome in the chat box. Thank you. Seeing people enter 2, determining our implementation plan seems to be pretty interesting to people. And 3, selecting the materials. Good. All right. So, but before we can do those exciting things in 2 and 3, we have to get on to our audience and really work to define that. So we are going to go ahead and move into our defining and reaching our audience. Shortly, you're going to go in, hopefully you've received a note to have your agenda handy, whether on a screen somewhere near you or on your phone or printed out, if that's your preference. And you will really need to focus on the questions in question set 1 for this first group discussion. You'll need to, as soon as you get together, designate 1 member of your group who will enter a summary of your conversation in the chat log upon returning to the whole group, and 1 person who could be the reporter and say those, convey those ideas out loud to the group. So these are just the big header kinds of questions for this first question set, and hopefully you'll be able to refer to that document somewhere within your email. If you have any questions about being able to access that, just let us know. We'll try to help you out. But the most important piece when you return is to be able to share as a group your we're going to share all the audiences, but your 2 to 3 prioritized audiences that you think will be most impacted by a Talking is Teaching campaign.
Missy, let's look at 3 to 5.
I'm sorry, thank you. Okay, 3 to 5.
3 to 5 prioritized audiences. Okay.
And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing the screen here and bring us back.
Before we split up into our rooms, do people have the agenda document available?
Could you maybe give a thumbs up here if you've got that available? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Awesome.
Good. in the planning for the audience, so I think this is actually what I might be most interested in, is which audiences we are going to approach at launch. So these are the audiences that we are going to go for at first. And then as the campaign develops, we can add more audiences, but we need to, we kind of have to narrow things down in the beginning to get started.
Great.
So just thinking about the audiences, the examples that I shared with you in that agenda came from the Talking is Teaching National. And we can choose any way that we want to prioritize those audiences. We can and we can mix them all up, and they can come from we can come at it from a variety of directions. You might have noticed that some of these are kind of linked to the spaces where you might find parents. So that's perfectly fine. We can pick some of those, or by the age of the parent, or by the age of the child, or by whether it's their first child or not, or some other distinguishing criteria. So this is a wide open opportunity to brainstorm. So that's what we want you to do first in your group, is brainstorm like crazy. So brainstorming means any idea, any thought you have, share it. And then from that brainstorm, each of the small groups comes up with a list of the 3 to 5 targeted audiences that we want to go after first. And then from that, we'll pick 3 to 5 that we will, as a planning team, tackle. So we need to get this part done before we can move on to the fun stuff that everyone else wants to do, which is the selecting the items for in the implementation. So questions on what we're going to do right now? What did I miss, Missy? Bailey?
I think we're good. We've got about 20 minutes 15 to 20 minutes for this part of our meeting. So we'll give you you'll get a warning from us. I'll try to do a little announcement that gives you maybe 5-minute warning, and then you'll get a 1 minute, the rooms will close. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and put you into your randomly assigned breakout rooms. And we're going to go into we're going to have 4 different rooms today. So remember your number. That's going to help to know what group number you're in. All right, here we go. Now is actually a really good time, if you haven't renamed yourself with your number, to go ahead and do that. If you could click on the top 3 dots in the upper left-hand corner of your your picture that you see there in the gallery. There's the 3 dots that are upper right corner. And you can rename yourself, and putting the number of your group before your name, that helps us know who's in what group. If that's not something that works for you right now, that's okay too.
What group was I in, Missy? Because I jumped
Dina,
out.
you were actually in group number 1. I know that's sometimes hard to remember. If you need a refresher, I can help you with that. I did make some notes.
Jim, if you put your cursor on your picture, do you see on the upper right hand?
Oh, yes, I do.
You see your name and 3 dots?
Yeah.
Click on the 3 dots.
Okay.
And then you get a little drop-down menu, and it's partway down. It says rename.
Okay, we don't need to rename it.
And well, but we want to know what group you're in. So if you click on the rename, then you can put your group number in front of your name.
Oh, you mean like number 1?
That's right. You're number 1.
You're number 1.
Okay.
All right. Just a quick thumbs up. How was your discussion time? Feel like you guys had good discussions with your groups. We'd like to go ahead and we are recording now. So Mary, if you're ready to take over the facilitation of this, if you'd like to share the screen, let me know that. I can share that with the group.
Okay. So we're going to attempt to do a polling thing here, where we we gather in those 3 to 5 top audiences, and Missy's, we're gonna kind of listen for some themes. Missy's going to create a poll, and then we're going to be able to, as a group, kind of pick out our top as a group, 3 to 5, and then that'll help us know where we start our campaign. So not limited to what we select today, but just a good place to start. So I wonder if someone from group 1 can tell us what they came up with.
Mary, I'll do that. If I knew I was going to do that before we finished our discussion, I might have made a few more notes. However,
Okay. And someone from group 1 should be putting it in the chat too.
Oh, good.
So looks like Dana and Bailey were also in group 1. So if one of you wants to type into the chat while Jim's talking.
Okay. This probably won't be in the order that it came out, but we had to focus obviously on families, and we wanted to look at ages of the various ages of all these different children from birth on up. That was one of our categories. With regard to parents, we wanted to look at parents in different categories ranging from, let's say, prenatal to the different categories, single parents, regular 2-parent families, and we didn't divide it up into any other category, I don't think. One of the points in our discussion, and this may get away a little bit from the audience in particular, but we said the message needs to be simple. At least that's a thought that we had. We also put a finger on the channels as being very important to getting our message out. And we had pediatrics and things related to the medical world in discussion quite a bit, including Munson and other medical related groups that have contact. We also said that schools, in spite of the fact that they may not be open, are no doubt having contact with their respective student families even now. And so we might get the message through even more conveniently at present. Okay, we talked about signs and billboards. We talked about grocery stores and drive-ups, and let's see. I think those are other items that we mentioned that where we might have either information to hand out or signs that we might have in those locations.
So we have schools, we have pediatricians and medical related,
Right.
Yeah,
We mentioned OB and GYN, but that's obviously in that medical world.
that medical related, yep. So then we have the age of kind of the status of parents and the ages of children. And then, is it grocery stores or? There, would you say grocery stores, Jim?
Yes, and other places where people might pick up food. I'm not sure what that would be, but it was pretty clear that everybody's got to get food, and one way or another, if we could make it convenient to get our message at those locations.
Great. All right. Thank you, Jim.
Yep, that's about it.
Thank you, Group 1. Okay, let's move on to Group 2. Jim, I'm going to ask you to mute yourself. And we'll go to somebody from Group 2. If someone from Group 2 can tell us what you came up with, and another person from Group 2 could type it into the chat box, which might have already happened, actually. It looks like, yep, it looks like Jennifer already put Group 2 in there. Okay, good, thank you. So do you want to share verbally with us, Jennifer, or?
You guys want to?
Or Cara?
I think we're pretty much on the same page as Jim. Cameron, do you want to talk about the baby supply stores and things like that too, that you had some ideas about, and healthy futures and whatnot?
Sure. I didn't write everything down, so we're going to wing this. Definitely first, I think we should focus more on 0 to 3, and then if we have more resources to go above, because there's already resources out for 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, and then into school where they get their own resources. Posting it in community-driven businesses like Once Upon a Child, Sweet Pea Downtown, places that aren't too corporate, but also going into places that are corporate as well, because a lot of them may or may not work with them. Jennifer, I believe, stated that she was able to work with them before. It's just up to the manager's discretion. I know that Target has a very good organization based, like they're very proactive within the community. So it might be something that they would work with. And they would also, I know that they donate a lot to organizations as well. I forgot the rest, so that's all you, Jennifer.
Well, that's good, because we have the chat that we can refer to for the grocery store checkout lanes, waiting rooms.
You guys know what the Munson birth registration list is? I don't remember what it's called, but when you register to give birth at Munson, they gather this whole list, and then you get this packet and they send you stuff. But you can also tag team off of their list if you have other beneficial things to send to new parents, and they let you do that. So
the baby pantry across from Bryant Park, I remember when I was giving birth to my middle son, they have this like newborn package. So if you go in and you sign up, you have to be like between 36 to 40 weeks. They have like a gift bag full of like brand new stuff that gets donated that they give to newborns. Maybe it could be something that they can slip in there as well. I've gotten like information packets in it as well.
Great. Okay, anything else from Group 2? All right, well, let's move on to Group 3 then. And I think Rebecca is going to tell us what we came up with in Group 3.
Yeah, so just sharing some of the sentiments from the first 2 groups. We're really discussing in light of the pandemic where we would get the biggest bang for our buck with visibility and have that widest reach. So we had come up with grocery stores. I know families, myself included, were visiting parks and feeling fairly safe doing that. I don't know with increasing restrictions what that might look like, but thinking about places that families may continue to go, like stores, like grocery stores, necessities, gas stations. We started to think about some of the obvious places like the Born to Read Network and some of the other literacy partners, and piggybacking off current projects and resources that they're already disseminating, and how we can provide some sort of literature or thing with their program already. And we started to discuss childcare providers when looking at that 0 to 3 or 0 to 5 range and reaching that audience of parents. And we also discussed the Welcome Baby Packet through Munson.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from group 3? That's Mary Kay. Mary Kay already put stuff in the chat for us, so.
I have to say that I think it was Rebecca or somebody had mentioned the gas stations, and that was something that was new to me, and I just thought that was a pretty cool idea. And we talked about, you know, how you fill your gas up and there's that TV that's going on. That was one of the ideas, just to kind of clarify what that meant of the gas stations, and possibly a site to hand out the books as well as literature.
Thank you. Okay, anything else from group 3? Let's move on to group number 4 then. Who is gonna talk for group 4, and who is gonna add to the chat?
I can go ahead and talk.
Okay.
And I posted it in the chat as well. So we talked a lot about WIC and low income offices and services like Generations Ahead for teen mothers, as well as trusted messengers such as pediatricians and preschool teachers. Those seem like places that families really value the feedback and have those trusted relationships, as well as food pantries and food handouts that schools do. Those seem, as everyone else is saying, you know, places where people need to go, especially in these days. We talked about businesses as well. We didn't get too specific with the businesses, but just, you know, support along the lines, maybe like a Target, maybe more local as well. I like the ideas of Once Upon a Child and more local places like that. And we thought down the line, we would include libraries as well. It seems like a lot of the families that we really want to address to begin with maybe don't have time to get to libraries at this point. But that messaging, after we do some messaging with these other groups to begin with, then including the library in as, you know, another trusted resource seemed like a good idea.
Great, thank you. Anybody else from group 4 have anything to add?
I added a couple of things for group 2 that we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
But I was thinking more about bus stops and on the public transportation. Maybe they'll let us put some posters up there. We can work with some of the people, but also for distribution by hand. I was thinking, you know, there's a lot of us that have booths at different events when we start having events. But maybe there can be a supply where we each have a bunch, and whenever we have a booth where families are going to be, then we can have some to pass out with our own personal things that we pass out.
Yeah, I think I will say that it is challenging to be planning a campaign like this during COVID, because first of all, we don't know what it's going to be like next week, and we don't know what it's going to be like down the road, and we don't have very much contact with families the way we used to. So I keep thinking back to the STEM activity, the STEM event that the library that Tattle put on. Was that January or February? That seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, that was the end of February, February 29th. So, yeah,
right.
We got it in just in time.
That's right. Just thinking about, gosh, that was fun. There were all kinds of families there, and we haven't, that was our last hurrah, I guess, for a while. All right, Missy, how are you doing thematically here?
I think I've done a pretty fair job. I've gotten all, I was listening very carefully and listening for repetition, and I have culled all of your responses into some options on a polling feature we're trying for the first time. So we hope that you'll give us a little space and grace to make sure this flies okay. But if you, there's a couple of options during this to participate in the poll. And before you see it, I want to just explain what they look like. The first is you can use your computer that you're on right now and click to get on a website like you would normally. And you'll get that website shortly here. The second is if you have your cell phone, there is a texting option, and those texting instructions will be on the screen that I share momentarily. And then the third option is to use your cell phone and enter the web address on your cell phone. And you do have to agree to cookies, but it doesn't collect, it doesn't make you create a login or anything like that. So this is something new, but you'll be able to see everyone's responses in live time once I share the screen. So in this next 3 to 4 minutes, we should have a pretty clear idea of what this group prioritizes as our top 3 to 5 audiences altogether, based on what you just said. So let's share the screen. Mary, go ahead.
So I'm looking at the poll right now because I, of course, had advance in on
Privilege.
it. Select your 3 to 5 top. So you can pick up to 5.
Yes.
Please don't, I don't think it will let you pick more than 5.
No, it won't.
Okay. So you can only pick up to 5. Okay.
You don't have to pick 5.
You don't have to pick
3.
5.
But you can, please pick more than one would be probably the most helpful. Are there other questions or comments before we see the screen? Okay, we're all really patient with each other. Don't worry about it. And if it doesn't work, that's okay too. But let's give it a try. Here we go. And I am going to go full screen. All right, so on the top, you should be able to see the website at the very top, the poll.ev.com/MissySmith683.
Hang on just a second, Missy, because Dana has her hand raised.
Oh, okay, Dana.
Can you put that in the chat, that link?
Oh, that's a great idea. Let me see if I can do that. All right, hang on. All right, chat, where'd you go? Hang on. I'm not sure I'm not seeing my chat here. Hang on a sec. Mary, are you able to easily access the chat? I'm sharing a lot of stuff right now. I'm not sure it's.
I can do it real quick.
Okay, thanks, camera. We'll know people get there when we start to see some things happen on the screen.
Missy, if I click on that website and vote, oh, wait a minute, maybe I don't have to do that. I wondered if I could get back to this one. I can't just do it on this view that I have right now. I can't vote on this. I have to go to your website or something else.
Right, the screen that you're looking at that's part of our Zoom call right now, this is just for you to look at. So you have to open up a separate window in order to vote.
All right, if I open up your window, Missy Smith 683, will I be able to get back here?
Jen, if you go into the chat box and just highlight the link that I posted and then right click, you can copy it and just go to a whole new internet page and paste it into the top, and I'll take you right there.
I give.
Jim, if you want, you can just write in the chat your 3 and I can vote for you. If you want.
Okay, that would be good.
Okay. All right. Let's pull this. I'm going to try to look at everybody here. I'm going to try to see all of you with the screen. Let's see if that could work. Are there, can you hold up? Do you need more time? If you need more time, if you need more time, go like this. Okay.
Did you get mine, Missy?
Okay, I think there's an issue with, actually, Mary or Bailey, are you guys able to simultaneously enter some of these extra results?
I'm having difficulty. Could I just send it to one of you?
Sure.
Okay. For some reason, Missy, it's not letting me go. So who should I send it to?
You could, I'm just going to stop our share for just a minute because I think that's preventing me from seeing the chat here. There we go. Okay. I can see it.
Can you see mine?
I can see Betsy's.
Okay.
And there we go. Okay. All right. All right. CK.
So while Missy's working on that, I'm going to set us up for our next breakout group. So it looks like we are, which is no big surprise, but it's taking a little bit longer to get through this than we had hoped. The next thing that we're going to do is to go ahead and move into thinking about the stuff we want to provide to our families. And so this is the part that people are excited about. Before we do that, I just want to, I know we didn't talk about this in our group, and it's something that we will want to keep in mind as we move forward, that we are ensuring equity of access, equity of materials equity of outreach. So thinking about how, just being intentional about that. I think it's in everyone's mind that we want to make sure that we're reaching everybody and that we're reaching people who don't necessarily have access to the internet or the same thing. So just keeping that in mind as we go through this next part, which is that a campaign has 3 different parts: the distribution channels, high quality tools, and environmental prompts. And so in this next part, we want to be thinking about how we're going to incorporate each of these 3 parts, these 3 components, and what materials, what are the most effective materials that we could use for those components. So once we've identified our 5 top audiences, kind of dividing them up into, do they represent a distribution channel? Are they the trusted messengers or community spaces that are going to really provide intensive messaging to families? Are we talking about really needing high quality tools for those audiences? And then what are those environmental prompts? So that environmental prompt might be something like the signage on bus stops or on buses, where there's no actual contact with families, direct contact with families, but there is a message that they receive. And then you all have that, it's kind of a catalog with some of the things that are available. We can get pretty much anything we want made. And then we also want to spend some time, and we might not get to it right now, thinking about the role of technology in our campaign, and then also thinking a little bit about the kinds of training that we might want to provide for our community partners to just help them understand what Talking is Teaching is all about and what our campaign is set up to do. So I'm going to turn it back over to Missy.
All right, and I will go ahead and get you guys back in your groups. We are gonna, give you about 10 minutes in your group. Mary, what do you think about that? Just in interest.
Well, what are the results? What are our results?
Oh, our results. So yes, I do. Okay, your top 3 groups are pediatric and medically related groups, grocery stores and food pickup, as well as baby and food pantries.
What are the top 5?
The top 5, the next highest winner was WIC, Generations Ahead. And then there was a tie for the last place between gas stations, childcare providers, and bus stops, public transportation.
Okay, so let's be thinking about all of those things. Okay. So
would you like me to put that in the chat, everybody, so you can see what?
Yeah. Do you still have the graph on your screen of what it looked like?
Yeah. Let me see if I can just share that real quick.
So grocery, food, medical.
You might have to move your video log so you can just see that.
Yeah.
Those top 3 bars, in case they're hidden, are about 15% is the percentage behind that bar.
Yep. Pantries. Okay.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Well, what I'll do is we'll stop the share and we'll get you back in your rooms for about.
Before I go, people feel okay with those? Thumbs up or thumbs down or me? People feel all right? Okay. All right. Good. All right.
With that, the focus will be on question set 2, 10 minutes, ready, and here we go. You just need 2 hours for this meeting. I think that's just what we need.
So we have a suggestion that we'd like to run by the rest of the group. What would you think about if you got together in your small breakout group sometime between now and our next meeting and completed the breakout 2 conversation and then reported to the whole group on the 13th? Would people be willing to do that?
Can you say thumbs up if you would be willing, or no,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm going to vacation? Or
If we don't have time now to do it adequately. So.
Right. It's
Right.
Yeah.
So could someone in each of those breakout groups kind of take charge of letting us know that who's in your group, and then, you know, reach out for any support that you need from us? And by us, I mean Bailey and Rebecca and Missy and me.
I bet Bailey could call group 1 together. I hope.
Okay. And yeah, so that'll work for everybody, and then we'll just get together. We'll report out.
We'll just get right into our 3rd meeting with launching that sharing.
With deciding what, so and I can send some links to some additional options of things that we could purchase. Actually, this maybe is working out well. I sent out, shortly before this meeting, I sent everyone another email with an invitation to a national coffee hour next week. So if you're available for that and you want to, I think it's from 1 to 2 on the 4th. If you want to join other communities that have Talking is Teaching campaigns going on, that'd be a great time to just get some ideas and hear what other people are doing. You do have to register. You have to email someone and tell them that you're interested, and they'll send you a link.
Excellent.
So there is in your on your agenda, there is a link to a Google Doc called Parking Lot. If anything comes up that we can't get time to discuss today or at any time, and you want to put something in the parking lot, please go ahead and put that in that Google Doc, and Bailey and Rebecca and Missy and I will be monitoring that, and we'll either get back to you individually or bring it out to the whole group if it's something that the planning team needs to address.
Great. Well, then what I'll do is I'll just share. I think, Mary, you were hitting on our wrapping up slide. This is kind of where we are, I'm guessing. Can everyone see the wrap up slide on the screen? So before August 13th, our next meeting, we'll be focusing on media and communications. Mary, did you want to talk about the invited guests for the next meeting as well?
Right, that's right. If any of you who are here representing organizations, if any of you have communications people on your team or at your organization and you would like to bring them, that would be great, because this next meeting would be a good time to involve our communications support people and our communications partners. So for example, I invited Heather Jewell, who is the Director of Communications for TVA ISD, because the ISD will be an important partner in helping us get launch the campaign in across multiple outlets. And so I'm just thinking, maybe Andy has somebody at the library who might want to come. And I don't know if you have somebody in your organization that handles communications that might like to weigh in on this. I'm trying to get a communications person from Traverse Connect to come. The timing is bad for them because they have an event going on that day. But so anyway, feel free to, we'll communicate with you and send you the Zoom link so that you can share the Zoom link with anybody on your organizational team.
Excellent. Well, with that, we will, provided you all are faithful group members and can meet before our next meeting on the 13th. We will be able to get close to the finish line, which is our closing today. So we're not quite done with 3 meetings, but we're getting close. Rebecca was going to give us a few words in our closing today.
We just wanted to thank you all again for sharing your afternoon with us and sharing this space. I know it felt rushed. I think it's going to be great for us to use the time in between now and the next meeting to get together and continue discussing the things that we weren't able to get to. With the last few minutes, in respect for your time, if you could just take a minute and either leave a sentiment of how you're feeling leaving this meeting. I felt really invigorated and excited reading what you guys put in the chat last week. If I didn't already feel excited about the project, it really was exciting to see everyone's enthusiasm. So if there's any last thoughts you have or sentiments, we'd love to see them. I would also be happy to utilize that as the parking lot if you're not feeling like you can get on Mary's parking lot. If you have something that you weren't able to contribute today or have thoughts around, if you put that into the chat, I can translate that and take it back to the steering committee. And with Mary's information on the media and communications representation for meeting 3, if there's anything that you want to share with the steering committee there that you feel we should know, please also feel free to leave that in the chat. So with that, with the last couple of minutes, go ahead and utilize that time to put something in the chat for us to take a peek at. Thank you.
Also, if anyone has feedback on the polling tool that we tried out today, something new and different. So if you wanted to leave any, like, I liked it, I hated it, anything along those lines, that's fair game as feedback as well.
And we're going to hang on to everything that was suggested. So you'll see a recap of all the suggestions, and we won't lose that stuff.
All right.
It's going to be the fastest hour and a half I've ever been through, I think.
It really is like a blink.
Yeah. So feel free to hop off whenever you're done. And thank you so much for your time and your thinking today. See you, Andy.
We'll see you August 13th.
Yeah.
All right.
Go mow the lawn.
Weed your tomatoes.
I will.
Mary, I was waiting because I didn't get your email last time we spoke, and I was waiting to get some, I didn't know if you were able to put some paperwork together that I can present to SMI.
And when do you need that, Emma?
Whenever it's available.
Okay. Okay, I think after today, we have a much better, I think we're ready to kind of say what we're gonna do.
Okay. Yeah, even if it's after everything is starting, then we can like show them like, this is what we've already started. You want to be a part? I don't know.
No, thank you. Thank you for-
So Bailey and Rebecca and Mary, do we want to peg a time while we're all here, or just do it via email next week after the dust settles? When do we next want to see each other?
We can hang out for a little while now, I think. Does that work for you,
Yes.
Bailey and Rebecca?
I'm gonna stand up for a minute to get some blood flow back to
No,
the
yeah,
leg.
I'll get up and go for a walk down the street with your laptop.
Yeah, exactly.
I spent too many years in retail, so used to spending 40+ hours a week on my feet, so sitting's new. Oh, I think we're still recording.
Oh, let me go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me stop